Hey, it's Dom,
And Amber.
and you're watching the Here Comes Trouble podcast.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Amber.
And I'm Dominique.
And this is the
Here
second
Comes
episode of the Here Comes Trouble podcast. See, look at us being consistent.
We're doing it. We're doing the thing.
We're doing the thing. And I know on our socials, we talked about,
What this week is
yeah.
going to be about.
And it's a topic that we feel is important to get into, especially now. But it's also a topic that we wanted to approach very specifically and very carefully.
Very intentionally.
Yeah, that's really, I think, the best word to describe it. Very intentionally.
So this week, we kind of want to talk about some of the stuff that's happening in our current political climate.
Yeah.
Like we said in episode 1, like this podcast is going to be about all of the topics that people have a hard time talking about or make people uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Politics is definitely one of those.
Especially right now.
There's a lot happening in the world right now, and as two queer identifying minority girlies, I think we have
an obligation.
Yeah. I said this to Amber maybe last week, maybe even before that, but like we are the first generation of women that's allowed to do whatever we want. And I think it's always been really important for both of us to do something with that.
Yeah.
We have always been clear about our political stances and morals and causes that we support online.
Yeah.
Since we were kids.
Yeah. Literally, I think since I was in, since I first got a Facebook, like 8th grade.
Mine was literally Tumblr.
Oh, just kidding. Yeah, Tumblr.
Yeah.
That's so
the good
real.
old days.
You're right. Tumblr was first.
Yeah, but we've always been strong in our opinions, not afraid to express that, and we want to do that here. Obviously, you can find more on our social media, our individual pages.
Yeah.
We want to kind of do a different take on it on the podcast, where we can kind of have more of a conversation about it instead of just like a 10-second TikTok explaining our stances.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think because our stances are so nuanced and deeply rooted in intersectionality, it requires an in-depth conversation that isn't just fuck this, fuck that, this fucking sucks, this fucking is horrible, this is this. While all those things are true,
there's more conversation.
There's more context that we want to provide based off of our own experiences, our own relationship to advocacy and activism, and the ways in which that has looked in our lives, the ways in which it might look for us moving forward, especially in this current political climate, especially when it comes to Black and brown people's safety.
Yeah.
And the ways in which
we want to feel supported and seen and heard, because we might not be the current target for the happenings right now,
but people that look like us are.
We are also scared.
Yeah.
If we're honest. Like, we have our own conversations with each other about what happens if something happens to one of us. Like, this is something that's very important to us specifically, not just for other people. And I think I was saying earlier, like, it's easy to have sympathy for the situation if you align with us, but it's a different thing to have empathy. And I think that's super important for us to speak on what we want to see from our community and supporters.
Yeah.
For us to feel like we're safe as well, and what we think can be applied to other communities and other spaces to make other people feel safer by the people around them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing you kind of just touched on is the fact that safety, I'm trying to figure out how to say this.
We're trying so hard to go about this tactfully.
Yeah.
Not that we're not afraid to upset people who don't align with us. Like, we're
I
very
spend
rooted
every
in
single
what we
day of my life on the internet upsetting people that likely don't align with me.
We've both gotten
that is not
death threats.
Yeah, I've gotten death threats. I've gotten death threat emails. I've gotten horrible,
people have called
awful comments.
my job. They've called my bosses and been like, I'm going to come there and I'm going to hurt her. Like,
I have never been a silent observer.
No.
Ever.
And I know that that's something we have to face.
Yeah, I was raised by a hippie who was very loud about injustice, and she also had Black children. So it was not something that she felt she could avoid. It also wasn't something she wanted to avoid, and it was something she was also very involved in her community, talking about and dealing with.
Yeah.
And I was raised by a woman that was very loud and outspoken about her opinions about things.
Same.
And so I became a person that has never shied away from that. I think that what makes this particular time in history really scary for people that look like us is that they're not just handling and dealing with people that came here illegally. And the way that they are handling people that came here illegally is deeply inappropriate and so deeply inhumane and disgusting. I don't think any human should be treated that way. But even past that, they're dealing with American citizens this way, people that have gotten their citizenship, people that were born here. It doesn't really matter where you're from, how you got here, whatever. It only matters what the color of your skin is. And as a Black person, I have been dealing with that reality since I was old enough to be called the N-word on the bus. So
yeah, and I've always had a hard time with my identity because I'm more white passing now than I was as a kid. My skin tone was much darker as a kid. I just don't spend time outside anymore because I don't have the time. But when I first moved to the town that I call my hometown, I moved when I was 8 years old. My mom told me much later in life that I came home from my first day of school asking what the N-word was because the new kids at my school said they wouldn't play with me because I was one. And through in high school, I was getting death threats because I was a terrorist. I was friends with Osama bin Laden. I mean, I was one of a handful of people of color in my school. So I went through these waves of like, I grew up in a white family, of like identifying as white and then realizing that white people don't perceive me as white, but then growing up and knowing that I don't really align with any culture. And so I still to this day am like, I don't know if I'm out in the streets, is someone going to identify me as white, or are they going to identify me as Hispanic? Or are they going to identify me as whatever?
Native, because you're Native.
Exactly.
You know?
Like I'm so many ethnicities, but it's like, how much risk am I facing? What do I have to be prepared for?
Yeah.
Like, how scared is it valid to be? Because I don't want to be that person that like appropriates the terror of what's happening to a community for myself if I don't belong there. But it's
scary. But here's the thing. I will say, off of that point, I have a hard time because a lot of the people in my life don't understand that I am actively scared all the time because I am very clearly a brown individual. You cannot look at me and think that anything else.
No.
So that's a built-in fear that I have dealt with my entire life. It was one of the first conversations my mom had with me and my brother when it was time to get licenses. Like, there are a lot of conversations that I've had to have in my lifetime simply around the color of my skin and what that's going to mean for me in the world. However, off of your point, I think this is a scary time, especially for people that look like me, for Hispanic people, for Black and brown people. This is a really, really, really scary time. But it's a scary time for everyone. Because it's not just about that anymore at this point.
No, it's devolved.
It's devolved into something even deeper where it truly has become those who agree with the powers that be are safe and those who disagree with the powers that be are not.
Yeah.
And you can look like Renee Good and still be targeted in the streets. And I think that, and maybe this is an added layer of frustration actually that I feel for this country as a whole, I think, is I have dealt with the reality of what this country is since I was old enough to understand what is happening and what it means to be in a black and brown body.
Mm-hmm.
And now that the terrorization of people is expanding to groups that had never been terrorized before,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden people are up in uproar.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, there's one part of me that's like, well, thank God. Like, thank fuck people
Finally.
are mad. Finally, people are upset. Finally, people are seeing the problem. But it's also like, fuck you for taking so long.
Yeah.
Because people that were being terrorized looked not like you.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to hold space for
people to
humanity,
grow and
right?
change
For humanity and you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also really fucking angry that it took so many of my people dying to get to this point.
Mm-hmm. And
For, like,
them dying in ways that don't make headlines
mm-mm.
and don't get as much attention. I mean, even to this day, Renee Good's fundraiser raised over $1.5 million and got closed. Keith Porter's still open and hasn't hit their fundraising goal.
Correct.
Like, and they were both subject to the same violence. In the same circumstances. And it's still the black and brown communities that are suffering the most and
Right.
getting the least attention for it.
Right. And I think that's just, even in the historical context, I think it bothers me when I see a lot of people online and even people that I had associated with at a point in time in my life that were like, well, we're so far removed from slavery. We're so far removed from Jim Crow. We're so far removed from all these things, when really it wasn't that long ago, number one. And number two, we've never as a country healed from the sins of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very, very evident and obvious when you look in just about any community.
Yeah.
Like, if you look in the black community,
any minority group,
any minority community, you will see the after effects of those things, even in just the community alone, without the influence
mm-hmm.
of the colonizer lens.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think because I grew up in a predominantly white town, I'm really grateful for the education that I got. I got a really fantastic education. I did. I got a private school education at a public school. I got into every college that I applied to. I was able to enter into things like the youth forum. I met Gloria Steinem and sat down and had a conversation with her. All of those things I was able to do because of the school that I went to. However, it was very obvious that that racism was so deeply, deeply alive and well in those times. And being a child and growing up in that environment and having to get educated really early.
Yeah.
And
I've been having a lot of issues with family members and other parents, because I have 2 young kids, where a lot of people are like, well, why do you talk to your kids about politics? Like, they're so young. They shouldn't have to be exposed to that. And it's because minority communities have to be exposed to that young.
We don't have the option.
They have to learn about these things and be taught how to avoid harm coming to them because of these things. Like, if other people don't have the option to be informed on this, I don't see why my kids should. My kids are white. They're very, very white. And I get that kids should be protected and they shouldn't have to face these realities. But until all kids don't have to face these realities, I don't see why there should be exceptions.
I agree. And I've had that conversation with people too, because I think in college especially, there were a lot of people that were like, well, how do you navigate that as a teacher? Like, that's not appropriate to talk about. That's not whatever. Kids don't understand. And it's like, I was in third, fourth grade the first time I got called the N-word with a hard ER. I went home to my mom as a child and said, hey, I got called this. What does it mean?
And same, because
And
people are so racist that, like, anyone that looks even slightly different from them,
yeah, is an N-word. And she had to explain to me, a child,
exactly,
a baby, if you were looking at me, you would think that's a baby.
yeah,
And she had to explain to me that the white kid on my bus called me a slur and likely hated me, and likely his parents taught him that, and likely his parents hated me,
and that you're unsafe,
and that I was essentially unsafe because of whatever prejudice, whatever, like.
And that's another take on, like, oh, kids shouldn't be involved in politics, they shouldn't be exposed that young, but, like, obviously
They're
kids are
getting
learning things
exposed to
like
it at
slurs.
home.
Kids are learning to hate other people. Like,
they're getting exposed to it at home. And that trickles
by adults.
Yeah. That trickles all the way out. And I got made fun of about my race, and I got black jokes, and I remember being in high school, and I was in study hall, and I was sitting with a group of people that I had been conditioned to think were my friends, because who else was I going to have? I was the only person of color, other than maybe I think two other people, and one of them was adopted and all that stuff. So I was the only, like, person of color that had connections and ties to actual community,
yes.
like a culture, in my graduating class. So I think there were only a handful of us in the whole school. The school was only 300 kids.
Yeah.
So who am I supposed to be friends with? And if I don't align with certain people, then my life is going to get a lot worse. So I was sitting at a table at study hall with a group of kids that I thought were my friends, and they were asking me questions that I couldn't tell if they were actually ignorant or if they were doing it as a way to, like, make me feel small.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were like, why aren't your lips bigger? Or, do you have the same color blood as we do? And, like, your nose looks like this, but, what's her face? Because there was another black girl in my school. Her nose is like this. Like, why aren't you the same? Why isn't the same? And, are you genetically made up differently than white people? Is that a different? Do you have different genetic makeup? And, I was sitting in the library, and this one girl was like, I think the N-word is a whole different species of human. They're not the same. They're not genetically the same. We're different. We're this. And I had to hear all this stuff. And then I had to be the one to be like, well, you're wrong. And here are all the facts. And, like, I'm having to educate my abusers on why that way of thinking is wrong and not, like, real. That's not real.
And I think that's a conversation that's only been coming up, at least from what I've seen in prevalence, since George Floyd, is minorities being like, I don't understand why we have to be the ones to educate people on why this is wrong. It shouldn't be, like, the emotional and mental labor should not be on us as the victims of these prejudices to inform the communities and educate the communities. It shouldn't be on our shoulders.
It shouldn't be. But I think at the time I was like, well, if I don't do it, they're going to go out into the world and they're going to terrorize someone else that looks like me. And I know what it's felt like being terrorized by these people.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen to someone else.
But I think that's, like, one of our points that we really wanted to make today is why it's so important for us to speak on these things to our friends that have more privilege, our white friends, our straight friends, like, people that have the same mindsets as us and align with our morals and align with our values and feel the same way we do. Y'all need to be taking on more of these conversations.
Yeah.
And we really wanted to make the point that activism looks different for everyone, and we'll continue to talk about this through this episode. But feeling like the people with privilege to carry these conversations should be doing more to carry those so that minorities don't have to. Because we will have to. if it slips through the cracks.
And it should not be that you're taking over the conversation.
No.
You're uplifting the voices of people that are speaking about the things. It's not like you're subjugating and subverting the arguments and the conversations. You're taking what people of color have built, quoting and giving, you know,
give them
credit,
platforms.
Give them credit and a platform, and amplifying the voices that exist.
Exactly.
And I want to like really make that distinction.
And there's
because
so many
I am
ways
very,
to do
very,
that.
very, very, very also tired of the white savior complex.
Yeah.
I cannot get enough. I cannot talk about it enough. Black people and brown people do not need you to save them. They need you to do your part in creating equality for everyone.
Exactly.
And that means amplifying talking points, speaking to people in your communities, and using your privilege to be at the front of the line to do that. Because if people on the other side see you first, they're less likely to attack.
Exactly. And they're more likely to listen and have compassion and hold space for your voice.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but as long as that stands true, it should be used in a way to benefit the community as a whole.
I agree. Yeah. And I think that kind of brings us to what advocacy might look like for people in privileged positions, but also what it might look like for Black and brown people. And I want my Black and brown people hearing this to really sit in the fact that if you feel unsafe, if you feel like you cannot go out and protest in the streets, if you feel like you can't speak about it on social media because you might lose your job or someone might come to your house or someone might, whatever, that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've been sitting with because I've been to several protests in the last however many years since I was old enough to just go to a protest on my own. I helped run like a BLM protest in my small town when that was going on. And I gave a speech and I had a megaphone and I did all the things. But I just want to emphasize that it's very dark times, very scary times right now. And if our advocacy has to look different, if our activism has to look different and it has to be done from our home or with our wallet, which means we don't spend in certain places or we donate in other places or we focus on volunteering with the NAACP or focus on giving money to whoever, doing things in our community.
Or having hard conversations with the people around you.
Yeah. And I know like a lot of Black and brown people necessarily are probably, a lot of us are kind of on the same page in a lot of ways. But I just think I wanted to emphasize if that's all you can do right now, that's all you can do, and we've done enough.
Yeah. When I was in college, my first year that I was an RA, our college did this really cool thing where it was one of the first schools in the country to offer the Dream Scholarship. So we had a lot of undocumented kids that were able to obtain college degrees through our school. My first year as an RA, I was lucky enough to be the resident assistant for those students at my school. And I'm still connected with so many of them because, like, I love people. I make friends really easily. Like, I love my people so deeply. And several of them have reached out to me and been like, hey, I've had to go dark on social media because my family's at risk. I'm at risk. The people I love are at risk. Like, it's not safe for me. But I see you posting. I see you putting up Instagram stories and you have no idea how much it means to me. Like, advocacy and allyship doesn't have to be as big or as challenging as I think some people think it is, where it feels like you have to be on the front lines of protests, in officers' faces, going out to where ICE is congregating. Like, that's not...
And if you're white...
And if you can...
I'm gonna say, if you're white and you feel like you can do that and you're at a place to do that, I think that's where you should be.
if your job's not at risk, your family's not
Not
at
at
risk.
Yeah. I think that's all you, mama.
Because once again, minorities have been on the front lines of fighting their own battles for since
and like just fighting battles, period. Because when we get equity, when we get equality, when we earn something, everybody earns it. You know what I mean? So it's been like there are so many battles that have been fought on the backs of Black and brown people that I think it's time that other backs get to hold it for a little while.
Yes.
And that's not to say, like you said, you're posting on social media. You're very, very, very out there and advocating for a lot of different things. And people have reached out to you and said, I see you.
Mm-hmm.
That does
it matters
so much.
It does matter. And I had to have a very hard conversation with another content creator, another TikTok person that has a lot of followers. And it happens to be a white man. And him and I have had many conversations about where his morals lie and what he believes. And he always says that, like, he wishes he could do more. And so we've been friends for a while because, like, I want to believe the best in people to a fault sometimes. But I'm always like, if you think this way and you support the community, that is enough. But it gets to a point where, like, if you have this huge platform and that's your main source of income and your job isn't at risk and your main concern is, well, maybe I'll lose followers. Maybe some people won't like me as much. I had to message him and be like, I can't be friends with you anymore. Like, it makes me super uncomfortable to know that you feel this way, you align this way, and you could be doing so much, and you say you want to do so much, and you don't.
You don't do the most basic thing that you could be doing.
Post a TikTok story. You don't post an Instagram. You don't, like, again, it could be the smallest thing that makes these communities feel seen and supported and safer and know that they're not alone. And if you're not even willing to do the bare minimum of that, how can you really say that you're a supporter of these communities? Correct. How can you say that you believe in them and you want to support them?
And I also want to be careful of saying, like, if you're just doing it to align with something, like, that's very performative. But if you deeply align with it and you deeply feel it and you're passionate about it,
if you care about making these people feel seen,
anything,
then how can I believe you actually care?
Yeah.
How much can you care if you're not willing to do anything about it at all? And again, there's so many ways you could do it.
Right.
If you're choosing to do nothing, you don't actually love and care about these communities the way that you think you do.
And you also don't love and care about the country. Because let's be real, what is happening right now,
it's affecting everyone,
is anti-democracy and anti-constitution.
And it's affecting
more than just affecting everyone. And it will, if you think that it will not come to your door, you are wrong. You're just wrong. And I especially with the people that are, the powers that be right now are dangerous in that anyone who is not a white man is a threat to the system they're trying to build.
Which is so anti-American on a level that I wish I didn't have to explain to people.
Truly, because I was talking to someone about this today where I was like, America has never been an all-white country. Never.
The whole point
From
of coming
its
to America
iteration
was to blend communities, to be a melting pot.
Well, even when they came,
Native people exist.
That's what I'm saying.
Native people
have been here since the formation of the country,
and we're somehow detaining Native people too.
Never been a Christian nationalist country. Ever.
And that was
it's
never supposed to be the goal.
No, that's the whole point of the Constitution.
The whole
literally
point.
Quite literally. And it just boggles my mind that these people are trying to create a utopian society for themselves that has never once existed ever.
They're saying it's in the name of preserving America, when in the Constitution it's freedom of religion, freedom of speech, separation of church and state. So
also preserving what America? Like, what do we have to be proud of when we are a country of
built off the backs of minorities,
of multiple different minorities,
from
of slavery,
its birth.
Like, Germany and the Germans got their idea for the Holocaust from us, brother.
Be so for
from
real.
Us. When have we ever been a country that has not, at its core, been a little bit evil? Just a little bit. Especially to minorities. Like, especially.
This nation was built off the backs of Black and brown people.
Correct. I was reading a book.
And minority groups.
For those of you that don't know, I am a counselor in training. I am in grad school to be a clinical mental health counselor. And I had to read a book, I think last semester, maybe 2 semesters ago, called My Grandmother's Hands. And it was a book written by a Black man. And it was to white people, to Black people, and to police officers.
Woof.
And in the book, he talks about how in the 1600s, there was like essentially indentured servitude.
Mm-hmm.
Black, white, people that came over from Ireland or whatever. Like, they were doing indentured servitude. And they were supposed to be able to do this and then get a certain amount of time in, and then they were able to become a citizen and do all their stuff.
Okay.
And these owners of these plantations essentially had Black and white union uprisings, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
The Black and white people were getting together, unionizing, and creating money problems for the plantation owners. And at that point, the plantation owners decided to pivot. And they decided to tell white people, oh, you're like us, though. Why are you siding with them? Here's this land, and here's a certain amount of money. You're still poor. This was the creation of the poor working class. You're still poor, and you still basically have nothing to your name. But now, I'm going to let you oversee this plantation. You're in charge of these people. You're better than them. You look like us. You're like us. You should be advocating for what we're doing. We're better than them. Here's plantation. Here's this plantation land. Here's a little bit of land for you and your family. Here's a little bit of money. And now you're in charge of these Black people because they're dirt at the bottom of your shoe.
I think it's so funny that people want to be like, we're so far removed from slavery. But is the current administration not just doing the same exact thing with ICE incentives and a $50,000 sign-on bonus?
Correct. It's the same old playbook. And the whole and this is the part that really got me in the book, was he was like, it gave everyone a common enemy, and it blinded them to the real enemy, which was rich white male plantation owners. So at the end of the day, the real issue is there's a class issue. There's virtually no difference between you being poor and white and you being poor and Black, besides the fact that
you were told to hate
Black people. And now Black people have to deal with that.
That's it.
You fell for the grift. You fell for the grift in 1619, and half of you are falling for the fucking grift now.
Which is crazy.
And that's what happens when education is no longer important. That's what happens.
Which is wild, because the current administration is also trying to defund education.
It's a
never-ending cycle.
It's a playbook. And if you haven't read the playbook, I can kind of understand how you'd be blind to the plays. But it's so obvious.
But I don't understand how you can be at this point.
It's so obvious. It would take quite literally a Google search.
Well, okay, that brings me to another point that I wanted to make, is I have also seen other content creators being like, well, I just don't think I'm informed enough on politics to speak on
So
it.
get informed, you
It
dumb
is not that
bitch.
hard. You have the entire world of knowledge in a
At your
little square that
fingertips.
you hold all day to make your content that you're posting. There is no excuse to not be informed on these issues.
Like,
how are you gonna use, I'm just not informed enough? So you're stupid and dumb.
no, literally. So you're stupid and dumb. Because I just will never understand. And I can say, I got a comment the other day where, because I was talking about Christianity and organized religion and how I believe that I think like Christianity is not fundamentally bad, but I think what organized religion does to people is absolutely fucking insane. And this person was like, well, would you feel the same way if it was Muslim and you were raised in a Muslim country? And it was one of those moments where I really could say, well, I'm not informed enough about that because I didn't grow up in a Muslim country.
I didn't have that experience, but so I can't speak from that viewpoint.
Correct. I've never done that. I've never grown up in a Muslim country, so I can't speak to what that would be.
And
like.
I can't.
And I'm not gonna.
I can't unborn myself to go.
I can't go to the internet and be like, what would my experience be like? Right. You know what I mean? Like, I can't speak on that.
Person watches this episode and tries to hit us with a ChatGPT comment,
I personally blow my head off.
Don't
in GTA.
I'm gonna say personally, don't ever fucking bring up AI to me. Don't ever tell me to use it. Don't tell me you used it and you have more information than me. Don't fuck. You could just ask chat to tell you what it would be like if you would. Don't.
No.
Don't.
No. So for me, that's the one instance where I can absolutely say, well, I'm not informed in that way, and I will never be informed in that way, and I can't give that response. But if you, especially if you grew up here, if you grew up here, and you have any sort of understanding or education or anything, and you say, I'm not informed about that, so I'm not going to speak about it,
get informed.
Punch yourself in the face.
Get informed. Do you know how many American citizens that were born and raised in America wouldn't be able to pass the citizenship exam?
98% of them, probably.
A disgustingly large percentage.
A disgusting amount.
And it stems back to, well, I'm not informed. So get informed. We live here. You live here. This is literally your history. Why at our big age especially, are you not informed and comfortable with that?
And I will say, too, that's another part of it. If you think that you're informed, you're probably not, because you got the whitewashed version of history. Ooh. Just saying. History books. I was an English major in college, and I was in a class called Liberation Literature for my
college
senior
had some
seminar.
Good classes. I'm not gonna lie.
Really good classes. For my senior seminar, I was in a class called Liberation Literature, and one thing that we talked about really heavily in the first semester at the beginning was textbook erasure. And I had a girl in my class who was supposed to be my group for things, and we were talking, and she came over to my room, my dorm room, before we were supposed to go to class and do this whole thing. And we were talking about the Black Panther movement. And she was like, isn't that just like the KKK for white people? And I was like, what is happening right now? I'm 21 years old, and I'm about to have to explain to another 21-year-old woman
electively taking the same course
what the Black Panther movement actually is. Holy shit. And then we got to class, and our professor was talking about it, like talking about something. And the girl raised her hand, and she was like, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I grew up in Texas. And in our textbooks, that is what it said. And now I'm sitting across from Amber, and she's explaining to me the truth and reading articles that detail the truth. And it makes me realize that textbook erasure isn't just things getting removed from the textbooks. It's things being added and reframed that are just not factual or real.
I think that more white people should be willing to talk like that and be like, I'm embarrassed and uninformed, and I want to learn more without necessarily putting the work on minorities to inform you. But you should be able to confront your own lack of knowledge and be like, wow, this is super embarrassing for me. I feel bad. Let me go inform myself.
And even in the first part of that, you should be at the very least willing to acknowledge maybe what I learned isn't
the full story.
Isn't the full story. And I think that's the biggest thing right now that's happening is people are being given a sanitized version of the truth. They're being given a version of the truth that's not real. And they're falling for the propaganda of it all because
without doing any of their own research, without putting any work into finding out any of the information.
And I think the anti-intellectualism of it all is aiding in that. But I also think for the first time, people are realizing, oh, maybe what I learned is not right. And I think that
if you're willing to admit that,
it's important to not shame people that are learning that. But it also is important to hold them accountable.
Yeah. Which, like, the person I was talking about earlier, that I was like, I don't want to be friends with you anymore because it makes me really uncomfortable that you don't use your platform and, like, you're unwilling to get involved. Oh, how do I talk about this without actually pointing out who it was? went on to put effort into
doing that.
Into learning what they were allowed contractually to be posting about. Was going out of their way to post on their public platform and say, I am learning how I can speak on this. And that's a step in itself.
I agree.
To be able to say, I don't know what I'm doing or how to speak on this, but I want to learn how to. Even doing that on a public platform is at least showing that you're invested.
Yeah, it's something. And I think, too, not even necessarily, I think this kind of brings us to, especially for my Black and brown folks, I want you to hear me when I say this. Right now, they want us to be scared. They want us to be angry and riotous. They want us to be everything that they have created in their minds that we are.
They want you to fit the stereotype.
Yeah. They want us to fit the stereotype. They want us to be scared. And I think that even if your advocacy isn't protesting, even if your advocacy isn't community organizing, mutual aid, donation, at the very least for Black and brown people, it can be joy. And I think we talked about this in the last episode.
Joy is an act of resistance.
Joy is an act of resistance. Audre Lorde said that. And self-care is a political act of resistance.
Taking pride in the person you are, in the community that you have.
And I think that at the very least, if we can, in the midst of the anger and the sorrow and the fear and the deep frustration and sadness, if we can come back at the end of the day to joy and to each other and to creating communities that have happiness and laughter and moments of beauty
and whimsy,
then we're already subverting their expectations. And I think that in and of itself is the kind of fuck you that I enjoy.
Did you see that protest, that gathering where they had like kind of cornered some ICE agents and they were all singing to them? Yeah. Like this whole crowd of people singing, "We won't let you kill our friends," or like something along that line. Like, and it is so much more powerful to be coming from something that's not anger, because you're just meeting their anger and hatred with anger and hatred, and then it's just not as productive as...
And I will say, that is productive sometimes.
Sometimes. To our white friends, once again.
It's productive for y'all.
Please. Please.
It's productive for you.
However, to my minority friends that want to be involved and are burnt out on feeling scared and angry all of the time.
Yeah.
Singing. Like, that's so powerful.
Yeah. Go out and dance with your people.
Yeah. Dance in the streets.
Or even have your people come to your house.
Yeah.
And dance in your house, brother.
Yeah.
Bring back the house party. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, just find moments of peace for yourself in the midst of all this bullshit. Find moments of joy.
Don't
find
let yourself
moments
get burnt out.
To post on the internet for things that have nothing to do with this every once in a while. Post a make breakfast with me. Post a meditate with me. Post anything to show that you are not letting them steal your livelihood. Because
they
don't deserve that.
No. They've taken it from minority communities for far too long.
Correct.
And we shouldn't have to comply in that anymore.
No. And now it's time. It's the time for reckoning. I'm at a place right now where I will do absolutely everything I can to advocate for every minority community that's going to really need it. That's always needed it, but that's going to really need it in the coming days. But I'm still going to go and take a picnic by the water and use pretty wine glasses and smile and stick my feet in the grass and
journal with glittery gel pens.
And have gratitude for, at the very least, the people that I have in my life that are making me feel safe and protected. And I think that maybe that comes to our last point, in that there are things that you as community members, if you have minority friends, if you have minority family, if you know anyone in your community, if you've ever interacted with a minority
or enjoyed minority culture.
Correct. I was like, if you've ever gone to a Mexican restaurant, if you've ever enjoyed anything that has to do with minority culture, you should be doing everything you can and informing yourself about everything that you can do to make, at the very least, every minority that you come into contact with feel safer and better about other people that look like you. It is your responsibility.
It's on y'all.
I
mean, it's on all of us.
It's on all of us, but it's really your responsibility to not be someone or something that is going to add even more trauma to a person of color.
Maybe y'all should start hosting dance parties at y'all's houses and invite your minority communities.
Yeah. And make sure that they're not going to get harmed.
Yeah. Have safe spaces for them to
Do not put them in an environment that's going to harm them.
Yeah. Let them experience joy in a space that's safe and protected and encouraging that of them.
Yeah. I think that's really just what it comes down to is the path of least harm is the path that everyone should be walking.
And any singular person that's listening to this, the community needs you. Like, specifically you. You should be doing something. You have to do something. Correct. Even if it's one thing, even if it's a small thing, even if you need help figuring out where to start, and you're at that point where you're like, oh, I'm realizing I don't know enough to do what I care enough to do.
Yeah.
Someone help me.
Yeah.
Try not to lean on your minority group friends, but
figure it out, brother.
The internet's at your fingertips.
And
find ways.
I will say, every revolution needs the agitators. Every revolution needs the protesters.
If you have the ability to be in the streets and be aggressive and use your voice and yell and use your anger.
Right. And every revolution also needs safe spaces. Every revolution needs lawyers and counselors and teachers and
that's the thing.
Artists and all sorts of stuff. Like,
no matter who you are, we need you in whatever way you can provide. It is completely necessary for you to be doing something.
Find your niche and then execute. I think it gets really easy in these times to sit on your hands and be like, because there's so much going on.
It is overwhelming.
It's so overwhelming, and it's really hard with that paralysis of like, okay, where am I needed? Where do I go? What do I do?
Stop. It's easy to feel like you're just a small fish in a big pond, and there's only so much influence you can have. There's only so much you can do, and this thing happened, and then this thing happened, and this thing happened, and I don't even know where to start. But
even a bunch of small fish make a huge difference.
Like in Finding Nemo, when they all swim down.
Exactly. So it's like, it doesn't matter how small the act is as long as it's pushing the needle in the right direction.
And you should want that for yourselves, to like have the conscience of like, well, I know I'm doing something. I'm doing what I can.
Yeah.
Because like, there's only so much that Amber and I can do.
Right.
We're not perfect. We're not the perfect supporters. We're not perfect activists by any means.
We're human beings. It's never going to be perfect.
And we're also balancing our own lives. We're also super busy people that have a lot going on. And neither of us feels like we're ever doing as much as we actually want to do.
I was just about to say that.
But to be able to say that we're doing something is at least something to hold on to.
Yeah. Even in just being able to speak about it on this platform, there are so many influencers that are afraid to speak. Many content creators, so many podcasters, so many whatever, that are afraid to speak about these things because it would mess up their brand deals or mess up their relationships with people in their families or whatever.
They just don't want to lose
followers. I've never been that person. I will never be that person. I don't plan on starting now. And just being able to sit here and speak to you guys and have a conversation with you about things that we talk about on a regular basis. Like, we are always talking about this.
I think that's also, like, not only is this, like, time sensitive and culture relevant to what's happening right now in this moment, but also I think it was really important for Amber and I to make these points very clear very early on that this is who we are and this is what we stand for, and with what little platform we have, we are always going to use it to move the community forward.
Every single time.
We want anyone that interacts with us to know without a doubt that this is a safe space for them.
Yeah.
And that we will always advocate for them in whatever ways we possibly can.
I don't know how many times I have posted on my platforms, I'm pro-ho, I'm pro, like,
free Palestine, fuck Donald on a crazy style.
Like, so I am truly, I have a lot of issues with my childhood, and I have a lot of issues with my parents. But the one way my mom did not fuck up is the social justice advocate.
I say this all the time. I have my family and we have our own complicated relationship, but they have been always loud voices for justice and for equality.
Yeah. And for non-judgment, truly. And I just... Well, for people that don't deserve
your
it,
parents.
You know what I mean? Like, judging people that harm people is one thing. Judging people that are doing them and minding their own business and just existing is another thing. You know what I mean?
I think that's my baseline is, like, do whatever the fuck you want with your life. Just don't hurt other people while doing it. Don't make other people feel bad for living their one beautiful and precious life however they want to.
Right, that's the baseline.
I don't give a fuck what people do with their lives. Just don't hurt people. Don't make other people feel bad. Like, and also, that's it.
And also, as a caveat to that, we say that not to people that are saying nothing in the face of injustice.
Correct.
Because if you're saying nothing in the face of injustice, you're siding with the oppressor. So you're just as bad. And I will
your silence is loud.
Correct. I will hold that till the day I die. So you will be judged.
People will remember, I don't even remember who said this, but people will remember more of the voices that stayed silent than the voices that oppressed them. Because, like, there's a million people out there that hate me for existing as the person I am. But the friends I have in my circle, or the people I thought were friends in my circle, that aren't saying anything,
I'll remember that till the day
I'll bring that
brother.
to the grave because that's in my brain forever.
Yeah. And I think that's just like maybe a good way to segue into our ending is this is fundamentally who we are. This is who we've always been. This is who we are now. And this is who we will be.
Always be.
Until there are roses surrounding my gravestone, my friend. I will be loud, opinionated, and
hot.
And always on the side of justice forever and equality forever.
Yeah.
And I think we do want to end it with a call to action, I guess, for you guys, is to, even if you don't comment it, because we would love to see comments of.
We'd love to know more. Like, we love the engagement, not for like the engagement for follower game, but more because like
we're building community here.
We love you guys. We love hearing our friends' opinions.
Yeah, and we would love to hear the ways in which you're entering into your communities and the ways in which that you're choosing to find your niche to be an advocate. We would love to
How
hear
are
more
you
about
utilizing
that.
whatever privilege you might have?
Yeah.
To make other people feel seen.
Seen, safe, supported. And if you don't want to comment that, and if you haven't thought about it, at the very least take the next 20 minutes after hearing this, or the next couple days, to think about that, to think about the ways that you want to show up differently, to think about the ways that you want to get informed. That in and of itself is the first step.
Yep.
So if you haven't done that yet, take this as your call to action and your opportunity to do that now.
I will reiterate that your minority grouping friends are seeing your silence as you not caring as much about them as they thought you did.
Yeah.
You don't love your friends and your family and your community if you're not willing to do anything to support them.
Right.
So if you've been silent and you thought that was a good choice for you, maybe think a little bit about if that's really what you want to claim.
Yeah. So, I know that was a lot. I know we went a lot of different directions. I know it was really heavy. Next week, we're talking about dating apps and things like that. So it's definitely not going to be as heavy. It's going to be way more fun. A little bit salacious.
I also would really like to end really quick by saying, like, thank you. We've gotten many messages. We didn't know how big this would be. Like, we still don't even really know how many people are really tuning in. But we've had friends reaching out to us.
Yeah.
Saying how much it meant to them, how relatable it was, how excited they are about this. And, like, yeah, it was a lighthearted episode, but we're talking about a lot of stuff that was really hard for us to go through. It's easier to talk about now, but it's been really hard on us. And to feel seen and related to and loved for it, and people are excited to hear more about it, it means much. We've been crying. We've been crying all week. Every time we get a message, we're like, I can't believe this.
Yeah. It means everything to us, and it also just renews in us and reminds us exactly why we're choosing to do this. That it's just as much for us as it is for you, and it's just as much for you as it is for us. And, keep the messages coming. We love hearing it. If anybody has anything that they want to specifically hear us talk about, or our experiences with it, or anything else.
Because we've gotten some messages of people being like, I know you said you're going to talk about this in the future, but I really loved this. Tell us you want an episode on that. Because we just be yapping and we be forgetting things.
And we're down. And
we'll talk about anything.
We're on so many journeys right now that even if it's something we're not necessarily informed about, it could be fun to get informed about it and then talk about how
we can all get informed together.
You know what I mean? So, anything that you guys have that you want to hear, anything that you guys hear that you like,
let us know.
Let us know. We're still looking for artwork if anybody's interested. But yeah, I'm really proud of us. I'm really proud of this episode. I'm really excited for the directions that we're going. We're going to be doing so many more things that isn't just
we kind of laid out our next few weeks.
Right. That isn't just sitting here and staring at the camera and talking to you guys. There's so many other things we're doing. So we're just really excited to take you guys along with that.
And thanks for all the support along the way.
So we will see you guys next week.
Happy Friday!